right, let's dive in. Today we're tackling Brian Tracy's The Power of Discipline.
Oh, this one's a classic.
It really is. And he gets straight to the point, claims that self-discipline is like the master key to, well, basically everything good you want in life.
Success, happiness, you name it.
Exactly. So get ready to unlock some serious potential because we're going deep on the areas where self-discipline can really change your game.
I love that the book goes beyond, just surface level advice.
Right.
It really connects self-discipline to character building, which is where the magic happens, in my opinion.
Totally. It's about becoming the kind of person who can achieve what they set out to do consistently.
Consistency is key.
Now, hold on tight, because Tracy throws out a whopping 21 areas where self-discipline is crucial. But don't worry, we're focusing on the most impactful ones today to get you started.
That's a smart approach because honestly, mastering even one of these areas can have like a ripple effect across your whole life.
It's true. Kind of like a superpower you could use anywhere, right?
Exactly. But before we get too far ahead, let's take a step back.
Okay, I like it.
What does success actually look like for you? If you could paint a picture of your dream life.
I love this.
What does your career look like? How are your finances? Who are you spending time with?
Such a good exercise. And speaking of definitions, Brian Tracy actually throws out the typical idea of success and replaces it with something way more, powerful.
Oh, yeah.
He says it's being able to live your life in your own way, doing only those things that you want to do with the people who you choose in the situations you desire.
He's basically handing you the keys to design your own life.
Right. It's like, whoa, take control.
It completely shifts the focus, doesn't it?
It does. It's not about those external things so much anymore.
It's about inner freedom and fulfillment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Defining success on your terms.
Love that. But here's the thing.
There's always a but, right?
This freedom, this success on your own terms, it comes with a price tag.
It does.
And Tracy's very clear about that price needing to be paid in full and in advance.
Oh, he's serious about this.
He uses this analogy. Success is like a cafeteria. You can pile your tray with anything you want, but you got to pay before you eat.
I like that analogy.
Makes it really clear. And that price isn't always money, right?
Definitely not.
It's the effort, the sacrifices, the consistent self-discipline.
And he actually tells a story about a salesman, right, whose income totally plateaued because he stopped applying the principles he learned.
Oh, interesting.
It's like he stopped paying the price for his success.
Oh, I see saying.
For sure. It's like a constant effort, right? We can't just coast on past wins.
All right, got to keep showing up.
And this is where Tracy introduces this 3% rule.
Okay, what's that?
Basically investing 3% of your income back into your self-improvement.
I like that. Putting yourself at the top of the budget.
And there's this amazing story about a young guy who went from making like $20,000 a year to over $100,000 in just a few years.
No way, seriously.
Seriously. Just by consistently applying this rule, he even bumped it up to 5%.
That's incredible. The power of small, consistent actions.
It's mind-blowing. But before we go chasing all those external wins, Tracy reminds us there is some inner work to be done first.
This is where it gets really interesting.
It is. It's about building a foundation, and that foundation is character.
Ah, the bedrock of everything.
And character, it's built through the choices we make every day.
It's the little thing.
It really is. Choosing long-term gains over short-term pleasure, resisting the easy path.
I love how he frames that.
Me too. And he says that the cornerstone of character is integrity. It's like the foundation that guarantees all the other virtues will follow.
It makes sense when you think about it.
It does. It's like that analogy of the two wolves, right?
The one you feed is the one that grows.
Exactly. We strengthen the qualities we want by focusing on them.
And speaking of nurturing positive qualities, I have to hear the story about how Brian Tracy taught his kids about honesty.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
He made this rule to never punish his kids for telling the truth no matter what they did.
Wow, that's powerful.
Right. Can you imagine having that kind of security as a kid?
Yeah.
And it totally worked. They naturally leaned toward honesty.
It became their default.
Exactly. Now, shifting gears a bit, Tracy highlights this often overlooked aspect of self-discipline controlling our reactions, especially when things go wrong.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
It is. And he actually suggests that blaming others keeps us stuck in a mental child state.
That's an interesting way to put it.
Right. It keeps us focused on the problem, not the solution.
Stuck in that victim role.
But when we accept responsibility, even if it's just for our own response to a situation, we step into a mental adult state.
We become empowered to actually change things.
And Tracy has this simple but powerful tool for that shift.
Oh, I'm intrigued.
Just saying, I am responsible.
Wow, I love how straightforward that is.
Right. It instantly shifts your mindset.
From helpless to empowered.
Exactly. Now, are you ready for a mind-blowing concept?
Always ready for those.
Let's talk about goals.
Okay, I'm listening.
Tracy calls them the success mechanism, like a software update for your brain that makes success the default.
I like the way he thinks.
Right. And to prove his point, he shares this story about a client who went to one of his seminars back in 1994, applied those goal-setting techniques, and boom, became a millionaire a few years later.
That's amazing. Proof that it works.
It really is. But what's even more fascinating is how goals give you direction.
It's true. Without them, you're just drifting.
Exactly. You go from a lost ship at sea to one with a destination, a compass, and a rudder.
Love that imagery. So how do we actually set effective goals?
Well, Tracy has this technique he calls the 20 answers technique.
Okay, tell me more.
You write down, how can I achieve your goal by your deadline? And then force yourself to come up with 20 different answers.
20, that seems like a lot.
It might feel like pulling teeth at first, but that's the point.
You gotta push past those obvious answers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It unlocks creativity and resourcefulness. You'll come up with solutions you never thought possible.
It's like digging for treasure.
Yes. Now let's shift gears to courage.
Ooh, good one.
Tracy emphasizes how self-discipline helps us conquer fear. Even includes this quote from Mark Twain. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is control of fear, mastery of fear.
So good.
Right. It's about acting despite the fear.
Easier said than done sometimes.
Totally. But he has this method he uses with salespeople, the one-to-call method.
Oh, isn't that where they make a ton of calls in a short time?
Yes. But here's the catch. They're not actually focused on making sales.
Really? Then what's the point?
It's about shifting the mindset from fear of rejection to just taking action.
Ah, so it builds courage by removing the pressure.
Exactly. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes.
Like anything else, it's a skill you can develop.
Totally. And this applies to anything where you feel fear. It's about training yourself to be comfortable with discomfort.
That's such a key takeaway.
Right. And the more we do it, the more our brains rewire to see challenges as opportunities.
Love that perspective.
Me too. Now, ready for another mind-blowing concept?
Hit me with it.
Lifelong learning.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Tracy argues that what you know today might be obsolete tomorrow.
That's true. The world's changing so fast.
It is. And he says the top performers in any field, you get it. They're always learning and upgrading their mental software.
They see it as an investment.
And remember that 3% rule.
Oh yeah, the income investment then.
That could be your learning budget.
Yeah.
Books, courses, mentorship, anything that expands your knowledge and skills.
I love that. It's like a personal growth fund.
It is. Now, Tracy points out that success isn't a one-time thing.
It's an ongoing process, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he highlights the value of learning from the best in your field. Observe their habits, their mindsets.
It's like they're leaving clues for us.
They are. You can learn from their books, podcasts, whatever.
There's so much information available.
There is. But it's not enough to just consume it.
You got to take action.
Absolutely. Knowledge without action is useless.
So true. Speaking of action, let's talk about finances.
All right, let's get into it.
Tracy points out that a lot of our money problems actually come from a lack of self-discipline and this inability to delay gratification.
Oh, I can relate to that.
Me too. He traces it back to childhood, when you got your allowance and wanted to spend it right away.
That instant gratification gets wired in early.
It does. It's like we developed this equation, money equals enjoyment.
But Tracy wants us to rewrite that equation.
Interesting. What does he suggest?
He says money equals freedom.
Whoa, that's a game changer.
It really is.
Yeah.
It aligns your financial decisions with your long-term goals.
Instead of just chasing that immediate pleasure.
And to help with this, he recommends setting up a financial freedom account.
What's that?
Basically a separate account where you consistently contribute a portion of your income, no matter how small.
Oh, so you're paying yourself first?
Exactly. It's like sending a message to the universe. I'm serious about financial freedom.
Love that. And as that account grows, it reinforces the saving habit.
It's a beautiful cycle.
Yeah.
But building financial freedom, it requires tough choices sometimes.
Yeah, it does. Remember that creative abandonment concept?
Oh, yeah. Letting go of things that aren't serving us.
It's about conscious spending.
So here's a question for our listeners. What are you willing to creatively abandon today to make space for financial freedom?
What habits, expenses, activities are you ready to let go of?
It's a powerful question to ask yourself.
It is, because sometimes letting go is the key to something better.
So true. And speaking of creating space, let's move into the realm of relationships.
Okay, I'm ready.
Tracy dedicates a whole section to self-discipline in relationships, emphasizing how crucial it is for building strong connections.
Relationships are like gardens. They need constant care.
And he starts by talking about compatibility.
Finding someone who complements you.
Exactly. He says the happiest couples often have complementary temperaments.
Strengths balancing out weaknesses.
It's like the yin and yang.
But even in the most compatible relationships, there will be challenges.
There will. And that's where self-discipline comes in.
Gotta navigate those rough waters.
And he talks about how men and women approach communication differently.
Oh, that's a big one.
It is. And he emphasizes the importance of understanding these differences, not to stereotype, but to appreciate our partner's unique perspectives.
It's about seeing the world through their lens.
And this leads to one of the most important disciplines in any relationship, listening.
The foundation of communication.
Truly listening to our partners with presence and attention is a powerful gift.
It makes them feel heard and understood.
And it takes discipline to put aside our own thoughts and distractions.
Especially in today's world.
So true. But when we master listening, it strengthens the bond and deepens the connection.
It's like a superpower for relationships.
It really is. Tracy also talks about honesty and fidelity being crucial for trust.
Gotta have that solid foundation.
He suggests this thought-provoking exercise. Imagine your partner is always with you, observing everything you do.
That's a good one.
Would you behave any differently?
Makes you think.
It challenges us to live with integrity, even when they're not around.
It's about aligning actions with values.
And building that unshakable trust.
Speaking of challenges, let's talk about raising kids.
Oh boy, that's a whole other level.
It is. Tracy dedicates a whole section to parenting, emphasizing it's a lifelong commitment that requires immense patience and, of course, self-discipline.
He even shares this story about a friend who is a huge golfer, played 5 times a week, even after having 4 kids.
Wow, that's a lot of golf.
It is. And his wife finally had to confront him about neglecting his family responsibilities.
Ouch, that's gotta be tough.
It was a wake-up call for him. He realized his priorities were out of whack.
Life's all about balance, isn't it?
It really is. And sometimes we need those wake-up calls to reassess.
It's about aligning our actions with what truly matters.
And when it comes to parenting, Tracy actually challenges that traditional idea of discipline as punishment.
Interesting. What's his take?
He believes the most effective discipline comes from love, compassion, and understanding.
That's a much more positive approach.
It is. It's about setting boundaries while providing support.
Giving kids the tools they need to navigate life.
And one of the greatest gifts we can give them is self-discipline itself.
Oh, absolutely. It sets them up for success in every area.
He tells this great story about how he and his wife instilled honesty in their kids. They had a rule to never punish them for telling the truth no matter what.
That's amazing. Create such a safe space.
It did. They knew they could always be honest without fear.
And the result?
Honesty became their natural inclination.
It's beautiful how that works.
It is. It shows how our actions shape our kids' character.
Powerful stuff. Now, there's one more aspect of self-discipline that I think a lot of people crave but struggle with.
I'm listening.
Peace of mind.
That inner tranquility.
Tracy believes true happiness comes from mastering our thoughts and emotions. And one of the biggest obstacles to that peace is blame.
Blame keeps us stuck.
Focused on what's wrong instead of taking responsibility.
And to reclaim that power, he encourages us to practice detachment.
Letting go of the need to be right, to control things.
Choosing peace over conflict.
Accepting what is.
And this leads to the ultimate discipline, forgiveness.
Forgiveness. How does that tie in?
Tracy says, our mental and emotional health is directly linked to our ability to forgive.
Wow, I've never thought of it that way.
He even says we are mentally and emotionally healthy to the degree to which we can freely forgive anyone who has hurt us in any way.
That's a powerful statement.
It is. Forgiveness isn't about condoning actions, but about freeing ourselves.
Letting go of resentment, anger, pain.
Choosing to heal and move on.
There's that letting go theme again.
It's so powerful. And it brings us to the heart of what Tracy's teaching in The Power of Discipline.
What's that?
It's not just about external success, but about inner peace and fulfillment.
Becoming the masters of our own minds.
Creating a life of purpose and meaning.
I love that.
And we'll continue exploring these powerful ideas in part 2 of our deep dive.
Can't wait.
All right, welcome back to our deep dive into the power of discipline.
Glad to be back.
We were just talking about the importance of sales. Remember that minutes principle?
Oh yeah, maximizing that face-to-face time.
Exactly. But Tracy also points out this other crucial element of sales success, something that trips a lot of people up.
Let me guess. Fear of rejection.
You nailed it. It's that voice in our head, what if they say no?
Oh, I know that voice all too well.
Right. But he reminds us that sales is a numbers game.
The more you swing, the more hits you get.
Exactly. The more prospects you reach out to, the higher your chances of success.
That's about pushing through that initial discomfort.
And building resilience.
Gotta have thick skin in sales.
For sure.
Work.
He actually uses this visual tool to help us understand the sales funnel.
Oh, I like that. Visuals are always helpful.
Right. So picture a wide-mouthed funnel. At the top are all your potential prospects.
Okay, I'm picturing.
As you move through the sales process, the funnel narrows, leading to presentations, and finally, close sales.
So it's about managing that flow.
Exactly. Keeping the funnel full with new leads.
And getting better at each stage of the process.
Yes, from prospecting to closing, honing those skills.
So you're constantly optimizing.
Exactly. Now, switching gears a bit, let's talk about something that can be a real pain point for people money.
Uh-oh, the M word.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But Tracy says a lot of our financial struggles actually come from a lack of self-discipline.
And that inability to delay gratification.
It's true. He links it back to childhood. Remember those days when you get your allowance?
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to spend it immediately.
Right. We wanted that instant gratification.
That's where it starts.
And it's like we get programmed with this equation. Money equals enjoyment.
We get paid, and we just want to feel good right now.
Exactly. But Tracy wants us to rewrite that equation.
Okay, how do we do that?
He says, money equals freedom.
Whoa, that's a whole different way of looking at it.
It is. It shifts your focus to long-term goals and values.
Making choices that align with your future self.
And to help with that, he recommends setting up a financial freedom account,
I'm intrigued. What's that?
a separate account where you consistently contribute a portion of your income, no matter how small.
Oh, so it's like paying yourself first.
Exactly. And it sends that message, I'm serious about financial freedom.
I like that. And as that account grows, it reinforces the saving habit.
It's a beautiful cycle. But building financial freedom, it requires tough choices.
Sometimes you gotta let go.
Remember creative abandonment.
Oh, yeah, being intentional with your spending.
So here's a question for our listeners. What are you willing to creatively abandon today to make space for financial freedom?
What are you ready to let go of?
Because sometimes letting go allows something even better to emerge.
Very true. And speaking of creating space, let's talk about relationships.
Okay, I'm ready. Tracy dedicates a whole section to self-discipline in relationships.
Oh, that's a big one.
It is. He says it's crucial for building strong connections.
Relationships need that constant nurturing,
He starts by talking about compatibility, finding someone who complements you.
where your strengths balance out their weaknesses.
It's like that yin and yang thing.
But even in the best relationships, there will be bumps in the road.
There will. And that's where self-discipline comes in.
Learning to navigate those challenges together.
He talks about how men and women approach communication differently.
Oh, yeah, big time.
It's about understanding those differences and appreciating our partner's unique perspectives.
Seeing the world through their eyes.
And this leads to one of the most important disciplines in any relationship, listening.
Ah, the cornerstone of communication.
Truly listening to your partner with presence and attention is so powerful.
It makes them feel heard and understood.
And it takes discipline to quiet our own thoughts and distractions.
Especially in today's world with all the noise.
So true. But when we master listening, it strengthens the bond and deepens the connection.
It's like relationship magic.
It is. Tracy also talks about honesty and fidelity being crucial for trust.
That's the foundation of any strong relationship.
And he suggests this thought-provoking exercise. Imagine your partner is always with you, observing everything you do.
That's a good one.
Would you behave any differently?
Makes you really consider your actions.
It challenges us to live with integrity, even when they're not around,
Aligning your actions with your values.
and building that unshakable trust.
Now let's talk about a real test of self-discipline raising kids.
Oh boy, that's a whole other level.
It is, and Tracy dedicates a whole section to parenting, emphasizing it's a lifelong commitment.
Requiring immense patience and, of course, self-discipline.
He even tells a story about a friend who was obsessed with golf, played 5 times a week.
Even after having 4 kids.
Wow, that's dedication to the sport.
And his wife finally confronted him about neglecting his family.
Ouch, that's got to be a tough conversation.
It was a wake-up call for him. His priorities were out of whack.
It happens, we all need those reality checks sometimes.
It's about realigning our actions with what truly matters.
And speaking of parenting, Tracy has a different take on discipline.
Oh yeah, I'm curious.
He challenges that traditional idea of discipline as punishment.
Interesting. What does he suggest instead?
He believes it's more effective to approach discipline with love, compassion, and understanding.
That's a much more positive approach.
It is, setting boundaries while providing support.
Giving kids the tools they need to navigate life.
And one of the greatest gifts we can give them is self-discipline itself.
Absolutely. It sets them up for success in all areas. He shares this amazing story about how he and his wife instilled honesty in their kids.
Oh, tell me more.
They had this rule to never punish their kids for telling the truth no matter what.
Wow, that creates such a safe space.
It did. Their kids knew they could always be honest without fear of punishment.
And what was the outcome?
Honesty became their natural tendency.
It's incredible how that works.
It shows how our actions can shape our kids' character.
Powerful stuff. Now, there's one more aspect of self-discipline that I think a lot of people crave.
What's that?
Peace of mind.
That elusive inner peace.
Tracy says true happiness comes from mastering our thoughts and emotions.
And one of the biggest roadblocks to peace is blame.
It keeps us focused on what's wrong instead of taking responsibility.
And to reclaim that power, he encourages us to practice detachment,
Letting go of the need to control things, to be right,
choosing peace over conflict.
accepting what is.
And this leads to the ultimate discipline, forgiveness.
Forgiveness. How does that fit in?
Tracy believes our mental and emotional health is directly linked to our ability to forgive.
I haven't thought about it that way.
He even says, we are mentally and emotionally healthy to the degree to which we can freely forgive anyone who has hurt us in any way.
It's deep.
It is. Forgiveness is about freeing ourselves, not condoning actions,
Letting go of the resentment and pain.
choosing to heal and move on.
There's that letting go theme again.
It's powerful, and it brings us to the heart of the power of discipline.
What's that?
It's not just about external success, but about inner peace and fulfillment.
It's about mastering our own minds and creating a life of meaning.
Exactly. And we'll continue exploring these ideas in the final part of our deep dive. All right, welcome back to our deep dive on the power of discipline.
Ready for the final stretch.
We've covered so much: goals, finances, relationships. But there's one more crucial piece Tracy highlights.
Oh, what's that?
He calls it the law of concentration.
Interesting.
It's all about harnessing the power of focus to get things done.
Focus. That's a big one these days.
Right. With distractions everywhere, it takes real discipline.
So true. It's like a muscle you got to train.
Tracy says that's exactly it, a mental muscle.
The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
And he believes the key to success in any field is becoming known as someone who gets things done.
Being reliable, delivering results.
Exactly. Becoming that go-to person.
So how do we cultivate that laser focus?
Well, he says it's about setting clear priorities and pursuing them single-mindedly.
No multitasking, I guess.
He actually calls it the law of forced efficiency.
What's that?
It means we tend to get more done when we have less time.
Oh, I know that feeling deadlines are my best friend.
Right. That sense of urgency kicks in.
But how do we create that urgency without a deadline breathing down our necks?
He suggests setting clear time limits for each task.
Oh, like mini deadlines throughout the day?
Exactly. It forces you to be more efficient.
And it ties into that single tasking idea, right?
Totally. Resisting the urge to juggle a million things at once.
Give each task the focus it deserves.
And of course, eliminate distractions as much as possible.
Silence those notifications. Close those extra tabs.
Create a dedicated workspace.
Maybe even have some tough conversations with people to protect your time.
Absolutely. It's about aligning your actions with your priorities.
Now, here's something I didn't expect.
What that?
Tracy actually recommends taking regular breaks.
I know, it seems counterintuitive, right?
Totally. We're talking about focus, and you're saying take breaks.
But it's essential for mental stamina.
Okay, I'm listening.
He suggests working in focus bursts, like 45 to 90 minutes, then taking 10-15 minutes to rest.
Ah, so it's like interval training for your brain.
Exactly. Give it a chance to catch up and process information.
Prevents burnout and keeps you fresh.
And during those breaks, completely disconnect.
Step away from the screens.
Go for a walk, stretch, meditate.
Recharge those batteries.
And speaking of recharging, don't underestimate sleep.
Sleep is so important, but often neglected.
Tracy says aim for 7-8 hours each night.
Let your body and mind fully recover.
Now, before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to touch on one more powerful concept: visualization.
Visualization, what's that all about?
Tracy says that by vividly imagining ourselves achieving our goals, we can actually program our minds for success.
It's like creating a mental blueprint.
Exactly. And he recommends practicing it regularly, like twice a day.
What does that look like?
Close your eyes, relax, and imagine yourself in the future, having already achieved your goal.
Engaging all your senses, making it feel real.
Exactly. The more real you can make it, the more powerful it becomes.
It's like training your brain to believe it's possible.
Shifting your mindset from doubt to belief.
And as we've seen throughout this deep dive, self-discipline is the key to unlocking that power within,
It's about making those consistent choices that align with your goals.
becoming the best version of yourself.
And Tracy reminds us, when we master self-discipline, we become unstoppable.
We reach our full potential and create a life we love.
It's been an incredible journey exploring these ideas with you.
I've learned so much.
Me too. And I hope our listeners are feeling inspired and empowered to take their own self-discipline to the next level.
Remember, it's a journey, not a destination.
It's about those small, consistent choices every day, one step at a time.
So, what area are you going to master today?
What action will you take right now to move closer to your goals? The power is within you.
That's the perfect note to end on.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Brian Tracy's The Power of Discipline.
We hope you found it valuable.
Keep learning, keep growing, and keep unleashing your potential.